Hello everybody, I'm Charlie Atkinson and today we're in Thirsk, North Yorkshire to see the guys at Twisted, but in particular its founder Charles Fawcett to talk about the history of the company and its fully electric Land Rover Defender, the TVE.
So Twisted came about in 2000. It became a full-time operation in 2008. We moved into Thirsk onto the industrial estate. We got ourselves a little unit there. And the business, in essence, was modifying Land Rover Defender. We found ourselves a little niche, carved that niche out. The Defender is this fabulous analog vehicle, and people want to own and drive it, but the standard product just doesn't fit. It doesn't work. In an agricultural setting or a military setting, it's brilliant, it's simple, it's easy to fix, they don't tend to break very often, they're a very simple vehicle, but in essence where our customers were wanting to use them, they just needed to be that bit better. So drive landing to be better, braking, suspension, power, interior changes. We wanted to make the Defender the best it could be, but still honour what is Defender. Naturally off the back of that, EV came along. It's an obvious additional powertrain option. We sat at the cinema at the moment, at the old cinema we call it, which is our North Yorkshire-based showroom. We have another showroom down in Kensington, and we'll often meet customers down there. But this is where most people come to sit, look, spec, talk about what's possible, what we do. And we offer a number of different drive lines, electric being one of them. Yeah,
we'll come on to the EV in a minute, but I was just wondering, when did your fascination for Land Rovers begin? Was that sort of at an early age and that's just sort of carried through?
Yeah, no, forever. I was very fortunate when I grew up. My father was a car dealer, probably a similar character to me. He couldn't sell normal cars, so he would buy and sell exotic, weird, wonderful vehicles, things that you wouldn't normally see. So we dealt in a lot of four-wheel drives. So every night he'd be coming home in something different, a Mark 1 Shogun, a 4-track, a Trooper, a Land Cruiser, a 90 or a 110 or a Series 3 or a Range Rover, and I got to drive these things, sample them, mess around with them, clean them. When I left school, I would deliver them, I would pick them up, try to help him fix them. So I've just always been involved in four-wheel drives and analog four-wheel drives. Now you can go out and buy some incredible SUVs that you just point them in a direction and they take you there. But to a point, they're soulless. The vehicles we're dealing with, they've just got real character and soul.
Yeah, and when you talk about Land Rovers there, and you obviously have that affection to them, and like we said, Twisted's now at this point where you've developed this electric vehicle, and a lot of people and a lot of Land Rover owners are sort of against the idea of electric vehicles. So how does that relate to you? Obviously you've got this big sort of heritage of Land Rovers and petrol and diesel and internal combustion engines, but you've also now in this world of electric vehicles. So what's your stance on that?
I think when you think Defender, you think dirty diesel, dirty petrol. I think Defender in itself, however, is possibly one of the cleanest vehicles on the road because of its lifespan. The reality is Land Rover produced the Land Rover product from 1948. They still do now, but in its more simple, basic guise until 2016. The Defender was produced between 91 and 2016, and the 90 and 110 between 1983 and 2016. It's a lot of vehicles that are still on the road. They say 76% of all Land Rovers ever built are still on the road. I watched a podcast recently, listened to a podcast, and there was this explanation about putting a box around an electric vehicle, putting a box around a petrol or diesel vehicle, and the electric is cleaner in its box. Take it out of its box and put a box around the production and the manufacturing of that electric vehicle. I think it was 160,000 miles before the electric was as clean as the petrol. So take a vehicle actually that's already had 20 years of life. The average car is scrapped at 13 and a half years. So take a Land Rover that's already had 20 years or 10 years of life and give it another 10 or 20 years. It's got to be a consideration at least. I think mindset is changing. I think buying the latest, best and biggest isn't the way forward. I think buying something that's sustainable, buying something that's possibly already had a life, or in fact keeping what you have and just reworking it to suit the next 10 years. So we've come up with 2 petrol options. We've got the original diesel, it still fits in some environments. We've got a little petrol, we've got a big petrol, and we've now also got an electric driveline. And I think that gives Defender a much longer life, and it's naturally going to be more accepted.
Yeah, and when did that sort of journey of, well, Twisted's EV journey begin, and how long did the process take of developing the first electric Twisted Defender?
We were approached by a team of engineers in Holland, and they'd spent a couple of years creating their take on an electric Defender. It was brilliant. They did an incredible job. They're engineers, they've produced something phenomenal. They admitted they didn't know how to then sell it. So they came to us, Twisted as the name in the Defender marketplace, to assist them with the sale of it. To be able to do that, it needed redeveloping. So we spent the next 2 years with them, reworking their system to make it suit our ethos. Our ethos is the Defender has to do everything it ever did. Ideally, it has to do everything it ever did, but better. So we couldn't have a loss of ground clearance. We couldn't have a lack of a diff lock. It had to still be a Defender. So working with the engineering team, we've redeveloped the system to be a Defender electric Twisted. We're now at a point where we can start to market it. So 2 to 3 years, in essence, it's been in the planning and the development.
Yeah, and when you've got so much heritage developing petrol and diesel Defenders, how challenging was it to work and to sort of immerse yourself in the world of electric vehicles and produce something that meets Twisted's own high standards?
I think we were very fortunate in that the engineering team had already taken a lot of that pain in developing that first system. We were fortunate in that we could then go to them and say, look guys, for it to be Twisted, for it to be a Defender, we now need to tweak these little things. So I would say a lot of the headaches were in the first development. We got a relatively easy ride, but actually then on paper, what looks like it should work, when you actually get in and drive the thing, being a Defender enthusiast, a bit of a Defender geek probably, then translating that back into engineering speak so that it does what we want it to do, that's probably the biggest challenge. And I think the first video I did on the electric 90, I got in it and I said, I don't want to like this. But do you know what? Me and everybody else I've put in it, petrol heads particularly, they love it. It's still a Defender, it's definitely a Twisted, but it's really, well, it's so different, but so bloody cool as well.
Yeah, so it's not almost, you almost have to forget that it's electric and just sort of take it at face value on its performance and what it's like to drive.
Yeah. And is it Defender enough? Is it Twisted enough? Does it do what we want it to do? Yeah,
you mentioned some of those reactions to petrol heads that have driven it before, and you were telling us a couple of stories earlier while we were out and about of taking it around different tracks. So can you share some of those stories again? There's some of the reactions, people who didn't want anything to do with an electric Defender and how they were quickly converted.
I think probably the best example is a friend of mine. I've known him for 18 or 20 years. It was actually at his wedding at the weekend. His wedding car was a tank. The wedding reception was in a hangar full of aeroplanes. These guys are petrol heads through and through, the whole family, car mad. We were at a rally circuit in Wales and we had our TVS petrol 300 horsepower there. We had a V8 500 horsepower there. We had a diesel, we had an electric one. And my pal Matt jumped straight in the V8 and he's rallying around the rally circuit in this V8. And he came back in and he's back out in the 300 horsepower petrol. And partway through the morning I said, Matt, take the electric one out, see what you think. He was like, literally like this, do I have to? Yeah. And he got in this thing, he came back and he was absolutely revving about it. We got some unbelievable drone footage of him driving this vehicle around it was Walters Arena, so it was a proper rally stage. And he never got out of the car for the rest of the day. Just absolutely loved it. And in fact, we've got plans to set a record around a UK racetrack, grass only in the electric. Try and set the first record around a particular circuit. And he'll be the man to do that.
Right,
so,
okay,
yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, he's got some good practice in.
He just, you know, these guys are, you know, they're just petrol heads. They drive old Bentleys, they drive, nothing's ever new. So putting him into something that he wanted not to like and to see his reaction, that says we've got it right.
Yeah, and that's often the case, isn't it, with electric vehicles? I mean, just to talk sort of away from Defenders and electric vehicles in general, it's often the case. I mean, I was telling you the story earlier, but my dad's a massive petrol head. He's never really understood or got electric vehicles until I sort of sat him in a Mini Electric, I think it was, and smashed him round a couple of back roads. So I think we are getting to that stage now where people are beginning to understand that electric vehicles aren't these boring little things that you have to charge up for 14 hours and they only go 20 miles, aren't they?
I think there is definitely a place for electric. Is it the long-term future? I don't know. I think there is always going to be space for something internal combustion, and there's always a need. You know, I drive big mileage. The electric won't work for me, but there are days of the week when electric is perfect. And I think if you're fortunate enough to have that mix of vehicles, there is definitely a space in the garage for electric.
Yeah, and when you talk about, obviously you don't know if electric's the long-term future or not, if we take the sort of long-term vision of Twisted, what does that future look like for you as a company, and how does it, and with electric vehicles as well? Is there plans to do more electric vehicles?
I think electric will continue to be one of our offerings. Will it ever take over? I don't know, I can't see that yet. I think petrol is probably the strongest part of our business right now, whether it be the small TVS or the TV8, the big V8. They're both ULEZ compliant, you can drive them in the city. So they're, right now, Defender internal combustion engine, ULEZ free, that's probably the most popular offering or option. But I think electric will always be part of it. Will we put our learning from creating the electric Defender into another classic vehicle? Quite possibly. Nothing announced yet, but you know, the idea is there.
Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah.
Just to finish things up then, just lastly, we're going to go from here, take the TVE out. So not just for me, but for any other people that are watching, what can you fully expect when you get behind the wheel of the electric Defender from Twisted? How do you best describe and summarise the experience of being behind the wheel of that?
For me, it's thoroughly engaging. It's absolutely a Defender. It's definitely a Twisted Defender. It's refined, it's sorted, things are made the best they can be. But it's got this incredible quirk between 0 and 40 miles an hour where motion and sound don't follow each other, which actually is usually the other way around. You usually get the sound and the motion follows. This thing just whizzes up to 40, 50 miles an hour. When you get to 50, driveline, road noise, wind noise takes over. It's a soft top, so there's more noise naturally. But you then forget you're driving an electric vehicle. You're just driving a Defender. And I think that is probably a little bit of the magic. Everything about that vehicle, that electric conversion, has been crafted from new. We're not doing it, there's no carryover of used parts or anything. So to have got to a point where the vehicle feels like it always felt, I think we've probably hit the mark, really.
That's all for this video. If you liked it, then please do drop us a like and be sure to subscribe as well. For more electric car videos like this, you can head over to our channel, and for daily news coverage, features and much more, you can also head over to evpowered.co.uk. Thanks once again for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.